Greetings in the name of the Most High John Rastafari. This is the girl Jen, Sister Jenny, Auntie Jenny. And if you want to get formal, it's Miss Jennifer Frederick. Another edition of We Talk the Thing Unfiltered. People today is Friday, the week is over, just now the month will finish. We come early and things coming fast and furious. So get on the right side of things because this year is the year for sentencing. All who get judged last year, I talking spiritual here, all who get judged last year, this year is the year of sentencing, so be on the right side. So people, we start this thing right, and to all my peeps on Facebook and on YouTube, thank you all again for always supporting, always loving on, and share and share and share the life. We will come with some new things and new features and things coming up, don't worry. We have to make ourselves on top of the game, right? But I love everybody who come and give the support. Whether 1, 2, 3, 4, where 2, 3, 4 gathered, you know the information will spread. So let me start this thing right, people. Today was a very active day. Today is the holiday of Labor Day. Plenty celebration, plenty people, plenty walking, talking, and sell out. We go come to that. So let's play the national anthem. Let us always remember our anthem. It's important. And you must also have the pleasure, I'm saying, and Shepherd inside, she said, Palo Seco on the live. And I had to call in, because I have a good friend living down Palo Seco side too. I see Christopher is there on the live. And people anytime, Facebook giving trouble, wherever, all they come across the YouTube now, come across the Bounce Up Central, it's right there. So don't be sitting there and YouTube's Facebook sticking there, come across the YouTube too, because you know there's on Facebook, right? It's that kind of vibes. So we continue with the national pledge, very important.
I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of my God and my country. I will honor my parents, my teachers, my leaders, and my elders, and those in authority. I will be clean and honest in all my thoughts, my words, and my deeds. I will strive in everything I do to work together with my fellow men of every creed and race for the greater happiness of all and the honor and glory of my country.
And this again is in respect and remembrance of the first peoples of Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah. all the first peoples of Trinidad and Tobago and Caribbean. Much respect. I'm seeing Andrew from UK. Thank you always, Andrew. Andrew is out in the UK. And I see my whole family, Charles, on the live. Thank you all again. I will look just now to see you across on YouTube. Only don't get jealous, right? Listen to a little something about voodoo. It may change the way that you think about it.
Where did the distortion of voodoo truly begin? In the crucible of slavery, we were forced to turn our sacred way of life into a weapon. What was once a rhythm of harmony became a code of resistance. We were thrust into a war we did not choose, and in the fire of survival, our spiritual blueprint was altered. There was no name, no voodoo as the world now calls it. It was simply life, a living, breathing tradition passed through song, breath, plant, and star. But after the chains were broken, no one led us back to the garden. No one showed us how to return to the sacred stillness we came from. Instead, the colonizer renamed our wisdom, demonized our practices, and used our own cosmic sciences to shatter us from within. And so we forgot. We forgot the medicine. We forgot the music that healed. We forgot the royalty woven into our daily rituals. We forgot the divine tenderness that once guided our every movement. But our ancestors remembered. In their bones, in the soil, in the rivers and winds, they left the codes. Astrology, medicine, music, metaphysics. It was never separate. It was all one breath, one dance, one sacred system. And now the remembering begins.
Yeah, never forget. All those who are on YouTube, I Shall Seeley, Paul Martin, Patty, Julie, Anon, thank you all so much. And I know others will join as we go on. Listen to the experience of this. I think he was a referee, suppose, or probably one of the players on one of the football teams. Listen to his experience in this whole World Cup saga.
I will not accept the $100,000 compensation from FIFA. This payment cannot replace the honor of representing my country, nor can it make amends for the humiliation I have endured. Although I was unable to travel to the World Cup through no fault of my own, FIFA has considered my situation and President Infantino has decided to pay my salary regardless. But they should not be paying on behalf of those inhumane dictators. I passed all of FIFA's selections, training, and preparations, yet those 11 hours in customs erased everything. The questioning by FBI agents, the rummaging through my bags by customs officers, the cold lie detector and ECG machines attached to my body, this unfair treatment was solely because I am from Somalia. No amount of money can compensate for that. Everyone back home sees me as a national hero. In the end, I let them down, but I will not be broken. UEFA has appointed me to officiate the UEFA Super Cup this August.
So you see the inhumane treatment that our African brothers and sisters continue to go through all over the world, and it's getting, apparently, like it's getting worse. And remember what the president of America would have said about Somalians and Haitians and that. So that was his life experience there. And just the fact that FIFA, according to him, is willing to still pay his salary, although he's not there, it tells you that they know something wrong had happened. And I stand with that Somalian brother, and also want to tell him this is just me, that he hasn't let down his country. He didn't do anything to let down his country. Who let down his country is the persons who treated him like that and stigmatized him like that. Yeah, so those are some real issues that people of color face. So I'm seeing this here again. Young ones graduating students avoid shortcut hard work pays off, and this was at the graduation he was at Sacred Heart Boys RC, and this was in the Guardian 2 days ago, and it says here, participant not sentence West MP and Give me a minute. And former Prime Minister Stuart Young called on young people to stay grounded in their faith and ethics while chasing their ambitions, as he urged them to work hard and to avoid taking the easy way out. Young made the call during his featy address at the Sacred Heart Boys RC School graduation at the Cascada Hotel Ballroom Center, well, that was 2 days ago, where he lauded the graduates for their work ethics and implore them to continue heeding the advice of parents, teachers, and extended family in achieving their dreams. Referring to his own journey as a student to an attorney and eventually a politician, Young said he was grateful for the support of positive figures who guided him to a productive lifestyle. He also implored the youngsters to be wary of distractions and urged them to achieve their goals through hard work, not shortcuts. There are no shortcuts in life. Shortcuts get you into trouble, and hard work always pays off. So listen to that message. It might not make sense now, but you will know. If you put in hard work for SCA, you're going to do well. Young also warned the boys to be cautious about the type of content they are encountering while browsing social media, saying that some posts are harmful and convey the wrong message. Without referring to any specific leader or group, Young also raises concerns over the quality of leadership that young people would be exposed to. You have to make the right choices, and sometimes, unfortunately, not only in Trinidad, but throughout the world, people that we look up to in leadership positions are not going to give us the best examples. But you know that you have had a good foundation and you see God. Get close to God from this age. He's going to help you to make the right choices in life. Young also thanked parents and other family members who attended the ceremony to support the graduates, as he credited them with instilling the correct values in the boys and urged them to continue their guidance as they enter into a new phase of their lives. During her opening remark, the principal, Julian Urbano, also congratulated the boys on their achievement and reminded them that their work awaits in this new chapter of their education. So that's just some of the greetings there coming from Stuart Richard Young, MP for Port of Spain North St. Anne's West, as he congratulated the Sacred Heart Boys RC graduate class of 2026. So let me continue. You know, they always have something to say about Bout, and it's never in a complimentary way. Although we know that coming out of Bout, because I remember once I went in there and I was shocked to see the amount of businesses, the churches, big Catholic church and the other churches there that have food places. They have their own pharmacy, which means to say the pharmacist has to be trained in medicine. They have their own pharmacy, they have grocery. So despite all the negatives that you hear them saying and who must rename Bout, PNM Bout or some kind of foolishness, so and always looking on at Bout, people, let me tell you, a lot of academics and intellectuals have come out of Bout. A lot of businessmen and women entrepreneurs have come out of Bout, and like every other community, they do have their issues, but it is more magnified in constituencies or communities like Bout and Lavington and that. But if you go in other communities, my dear, you're going to find the same problem, but they handle it differently. We are no different than nobody else, because crime and bad behavior, and that is not an African thing, no, is it an Indian thing, Chinese thing, Syrian thing, or Caucasian thing? It is a human thing. So I just put together this little collage here. Director would have helped me with some pictures I had when Kareem Marcel had graduated, when he had passed the bar, and now deceased Inshon Ishmael had his say about people of Bout. I went looking for stuff and I got these pictures, and we put them together to show you.
Don't forget your name. Remember his Caribbean blood down in your veins. Remember your sunshine now when you meet the rain. We do it 1,000,000,000 times, we go do it again. Stand firm and never let your heart be troubled. Trouble come and go like the tides. What can they ever do to stop our people? With the blood of kings and queens for royal inside, we so full of pride. Love to see you smiling. Don't give up, keep fighting. We're full of our pride. Your light is so blinding. Love to see you shining. Light it up like lightning. This is our timing. Higher, higher climbing. Love to see you shining. What's an uphill climb to an eagle? Nothing, nada. We so strong as a people. Joyful laughter. Dark clouds will come. Keep your head up high. Smile like the sun. Show them how we shine. Stand firm and never let your heart be troubled. Trouble come and go like the tides. What can they ever do to stop our people? With the blood of kings and queens so royal inside.
So that's some scholars coming out there, and there are many, many more. I'm going to start to ask them if I get updated list and get some photograph and stuff and put it up. So that is coming from Bout, my tribute. Yeah? The Bout academic love. All right? So let me continue. Things heating up in Tobago, boy. Listen to this Tobago businessman. Things ain't so well. All is not well.
Business owners say conditions are tightening with higher operating costs and weaker consumer spending cutting into already thin margins. And some express that Monday's mid-year budget review as laid out by Finance Minister Devendra Tanku highlights deeper flaws in fiscal planning.
The government is coming basically to ask for the permission to get more money to put us in more deficit.
He adds that despite the extra spending, there's little visible improvement in economic activity.
I'm not seeing anything accomplished. Crime seems to be still the hot topic. The economy is down and depressed, right? I mean, this is the Eastern Main Road, and usually Eastern Main Road around this time is traffic all over, and we're not seeing that kind of activity anymore. The government has not put anything in place to assist or to revitalize the economy of this country.
Others say the real burden lies in structural inefficiencies and rising insecurity.
VAT returns is a substantial hindrance to businesses because you are freezing persons' working capital, right? Economic growth could be stifled based on that. You're looking at, in terms of crime is another serious issue.
He adds that crime has become an unavoidable cost, with businesses being forced to shell out large sums for security systems and private guards, all of which add up, and ultimately the consumer pays. Added to this, retail operators say the slowdown is already visible.
Everybody will tell you how bad this economy is, and it's getting to a state where tenants cannot pay their rent. A lot of people will leave their businesses and close up shop. We would have liked to really see the government focus.
And for many businesses, access to foreign exchange remains one of the most critical constraints. Especially for small operators, the barriers are even more severe.
The small man feeling it at the end of the day. It will be much easier if business owners easier to get credit cards and able to purchase their stuff for themselves.
But there are also those voices urging patience, noting the scales of the economic challenges government faces.
We took our country into a situation after 2020, April 20, and the government has been plagued with a lot of problems with finances in the different areas, having took a whole look at the whole economy, the treasury, the ministries, the different things that is happening.
This focus on structural stabilization was shared by Safras Ali, a director of the Agricultural Society of Trinidad and Tobago. From his perspective, the mid-year budget's decision to inject capital directly into public sector salaries acts as an indirect stimulus package for domestic food producers. And while views remain divided on the government's approach, businesses agree on one point. Without targeted relief and a deeper structural reform, the pressure on the private sector is only expected to intensify. Geisha Kaulesa Alonso, CNC3 News.
Yeah, there's news coming out from Tobago. Listen to some more. Hi, Dave, Zion, Bolty, Kenneth, Sarah, thank you all for looking on. I'm seeing Mr. Gibson, thank you all so much. I also seen somebody say something about Roger Daughter. All right, and tell me what they're talking about now. Let me know with the little Tory now, so I could talk it. Right? I know what they're talking about, so write up something there and tell me where they were back and all of that. So listen to them again here in Tobago.
So is there an issue with respect to Forex for Tobago?
Well, as we all know that SMEs have major challenges accessing Forex, and we heard about the minister alluding to the fact that they want to strengthen the agencies, Exim Bank, because Exim Bank is under the ministry to treat with it. So we're looking at putting measures in place to better operational measures and policies so that making access to Forex for small business becomes a little more manageable, and looking at the criteria, etc., going forward. And I'm happy about that. I'm really looking forward to that, to see how best, because we are struggling a lot with Forex on the island. A lot of businesses struggling with the Forex issue.
Is it a really difficult issue for many businesses?
It is a very, 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 very difficult issue for business. Some business wants to downsize their what do you want to call it, the varieties that they carry. So we just call it SKUs, but just for the normal man to understand, the different varieties have different SKU numbers. So some have to, so instead of having like 5 different colors or 5 different flavors, you may down to 3 flavors or may down to 2 flavors, because the access to Forex is just not there. And even streamlining, and you could see it, especially with small business, when they have to bring in stuff for resale, sometimes it's really difficult for them. Especially the small manufacturers on the island, they have been crying out to the chamber as what we can do to assist them with that Forex crisis that they have. Because they don't have access to foreign currency, not even in their experimental stages, not even in their buying their local materials, they just cannot get the access to Forex. The bank only giving them $100.
Things are nice. Things are nice. It has some will talk plain and some will pussy, foot around the thing. Hi Vernie, hi Diamond, hi Katya. And Katya, and you're telling me you're lock on from the UK, or you're talking about all who lock on from the UK? Papa, if you're going to the UK, you're not easy. You just slip out just and then tell me nothing. You gotta send me a little note or something. Anyway, let me continue the thing. Yesterday's Labor Day. Well, I go reach that address now. Listen to me Shampa, the boss out in Tobago there. Fire!
Any other questions? One question. You can't respond to the Prime Minister's statement in the Parliament about the special concessions being afforded to the PNM for the TNTech issue?
Let me tell you something, Pamela. I have never requested, sought, or nobody's informed me that I was on any list. When the Prime Minister decided to stand up in Parliament and read that foolishness to distract the people of Trinidad and Tobago because she doesn't want to answer why Barry Padarat got up from his seat and went and allegedly took a picture of the little boy. What Barry taking picture of the little boy for? Could somebody answer that? Here you have a member of the technical staff of the Parliament doing his work. His job is to turn on and off the mic. The UNC accuse him of being biased. Now, never in my 15 years in the Parliament have I encountered any member of Parliament staff who is biased or in support of any one political party. These are the most apolitical people that you would ever meet in this country. They are professionals. So for you to leave your little seat and wiggle your way down to that young man to take what you're taking a pity of the young man for. How that become your business? I think that is what the Prime Minister needs to tell Trinidad and Tobago about. And that extra tax that they're charging commercial customers of 5 cents every kilowatt. That is the kind of conversation I need to hear from my Prime Minister. That jamishness, I will not partake in that. And I'll tell you something. I have never asked anyone to put me on any list. I've never known of any such list. I have paid every single one of my bills since I've been a woman. Since I've been an adult and been getting bills, even before I was an adult as a teenager getting internet bills and things in my mother's house, I'm paying my bills. And I tell you, my bills are usually in credit. So nobody can cut me. I don't need to be on anybody's cut list. And I speak on behalf of my PNM colleagues also. The Prime Minister showed you his bill. Marvin Gonzalez had made his statement. Nobody asks anybody to be on any list. And we may want to speak that even from right here in Tobago. You have members of the Assembly who write to UNTEC in recent times, asking them not to cut people. What are we to say about that? So I'm not going to be distracted by the Prime Minister's foolery. You understand what I'm saying? Because the Prime Minister has a country to run. And what the Prime Minister needs to do is appear at press conferences and tell Trinidad and Tobago what is taking place with our business. Matt had to write to the Prime Minister to ask her why she not coming and talk to the people. And that is what the Prime Minister wants to take the parliamentary time to do. A total waste of our time. And we want, and unless you asked why people are so silent, and what about the intimidation and the fear? You see the intimidation and the tactics that young man in the parliament had to undergo? That is what people are afraid of. And I want to call Prime Minister Kamala Prasad weak. That is weak leadership. When something of that sort happens in your parliament and in your government, you are supposed to treat with the matter. So they like to call all kind of body weak. You like to look on the opposition side and call people weak. But all I have seen from Kamala Prasad Bisesa is weak leadership. Any leader who has a Philip Alexander speaking all the nastiness he's speaking on social media alongside an Anil Roberts, and you out of all the bright people throughout the UNC, the young people who finished doing their law degree and went out there and they're doing hard work in their community, out of all those brilliant minds in the UNC, you're telling me the two brightest you could find is Philip Alexander and Anil Roberts to put in the Senate? The persons the Prime Minister put in the Senate is based on her discretion. So that tells me a lot about this Prime Minister. That is weakness and that is whatlessness. And I want to ask Trinidad and Tobago to not be distracted by that. Don't intimidate Parliament staff. I stand with that young man, and I stand with every professional who show up daily and they work late in the night to support the Parliament. The most apolitical people you would ever meet. That was a dark day in our democracy, and we are to keep that matter alive and well and tell the Prime Minister, come again, get up and do your work. And if you can't get up and do your work properly, then go ahead, return to your bed and your bottle and let the people of Tobago do their business.
And it's that. And it's that. Do your work. Do your work. People vote for you. Do your work. So listen to what Ms. Helen Drayton had to say. A dangerous line has been crossed. Any member is entitled to raise a procedural complaint with the Speaker, request an investigation, and seek a ruling or report through the Clerk or Speaker's office. But publicly calling out, photographing, or otherwise identifying a parliamentary technician crosses a line and could reasonably be construed as intimidation, harassment, and improper behavior intended to pressure parliamentary employees and bring the administration into disrepute. Why or where were the Labour representatives' voices when a Parliament microphone technician was publicly accused of acting biasly without a shred of evidence? Their silence raises the question precisely: what role Labour leaders turn politicians' play in safeguarding employees' rights and ensuring due process against the government's might and ministers' intemperance. Notably, the government supported its chief whip's behavior. So that they're coming from Ms. Helen Drayton, former independent senator. Ms. Drayton, I want to tell you what I see up in Faizabad today. Labor in a critical situation. It's not even a life support, it's just in a critical situation. I will come to that. So I'm seeing also, listen to this, and this is kind of like a jump start to everything. Listen to this.
Trinidad and Tobago is being manipulated by those in power. It's called Flood the Zone, and I'm going to tell you exactly what that means and how it impacts your everyday life in Trinidad and Tobago in the next 2 minutes. Please share this video so your fellow citizens know exactly how they're being manipulated today. First, a question. What does Trinidad and Tobago have in common with US Republican Steve Bannon? Bannon is described by some as a far-right political strategist. He was CEO of Trump's 2016 presidential campaign and arrested on federal charges of conspiracy to commit fraud and money laundering in 2020. He is a founding member of Breitbart News, which many have accused of pushing racist, sexist, and xenophobic material into the alt-right. Bannon was also one of the founding members of Cambridge Analytica, associated with the UNC's 2010 Do So campaign to allegedly discourage Afro-Trinidadian youth from voting, according to the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project and the Netflix documentary The Great Hack. So we all already know this, but here's the new information. Bannon is also the founder of a political strategy called Flood the Zone, employed by the Trump administration to gain media attention, disorient opponents, and distract the public from undesirable reports by rapidly forwarding large volumes of information to the media. This strategy is currently employed by White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, who some have accused of being a far-right white nationalist. Does this sound familiar? Flood the Zone. Whenever a bad news story drops, Landmark TT, HDC, another $3 billion added to the deficit last week, the government responds by flooding the zone. Every day it's something new, designed to distract and overwhelm the population. Attack the energy chamber, attack the law association, then it's Venezuela, then it's CARICOM. Distract the country with Kayasili, attack the protesters. Then it's the 1%. Then it's a silly story about the microphones. Then it's a tea and tech list. Then it's Jerlene John attacking Brian Manning. Next up, it's Guardian News. Flood the Zone. Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller's political strategy now being used against the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Now that you know what they're doing, we're going to ignore the noise. I think I'm going to get back to talking about HDC and Landmark TT.
Some interesting information coming there. I see Mr. Gibson say something about, and he said daughter was pushed and he was displeased. I don't know. I know the crowd they take on there, so it's easy, unless the police was pushing the person or something, but the crowd was up there and you know, you go have the, so I don't know if it's the police he was in reference to. I don't know. But you tell me, I asked to find out who daughter, and he only tell me, thank you, Mr. Gibson. I said, you know, I hope you enjoy your birthday song on your birthday. Or is that Tiller? One out of the two birthdays was it? Can't remember which one. Forgive me. Hi, Jones. Hi, Rockman. Hi, Shirley. So let me continue with the thing. So people again today was, or is, coming to an end by 12 o'clock tonight, Labor Day. And you have the usual Labor Day celebration. So let me just play a little piece of the father of the movement. So they say, or it is said.
The conditions of the poor Indians and Negroes in sugar and oil respectively was nothing short of subhuman. It was clearly a case for early rectification. But how to do it? Letter after letter was dispatched to the powers that be in the oil and sugar industry. No replies. We turned our attention to the government of the day. Every letter was attended to, acknowledged. But what about the alleviation of the condition of these poor workers? Well, nothing was attempted, nothing done. And so I thought that the time had come when we had to take positive action to achieve positive results insofar as betterment of the condition under which these people were forced to live and die and work.
Right? So that is the late great Uriah Bus Butler. He was a Grenadian. He was a preacher and came and was so instrumental in our labor movement. Now, people is 1930s, so it's not the PNM. When you talk about the government that you're talking about, it wasn't the PNM. PNM was only formed in 1956. He was talking in 1930, so it's not the PNM he's speaking about. But while we always focus on Uriah Bus Butler, there are also other persons who would have been instrumental also in the labor movement. And I'm speaking about female. I like to talk about woman who is the first and the first and the first. This is our first woman in labor. Her name is Elma Francois. She was from St. Vincent. So when they start to talk about, oh, look, I'm going to bring all the Vincentian here, and that was in the 30s, 40s, she was here. Again, PNM was only formed in 1956. So they come in here a long time. Plenty of we grandparents and great-grandparents and we auntie this, that is either Grenadians, Vincentian, Bajan, some is Dominicans, and all you know the thing. So this is Miss Elma Francois here, who was very, very instrumental in the labor movement. But you don't hear them mentioning her. If it wasn't for her, it would not have no cement and waterfront trade union. It would not have no national union or confederated workers, and what you call them, NUGFW and SWWT. She was instrumental in forming those two unions. She another. So if it wasn't for her, it would not have them there. So there is some information for you. So let me also read some stuff here about Miss Elma Francois. This was November the 5th, 2020. It was written in the Express. In commemoration of African History Month, November, in Trinidad and Tobago, I wish to honor a great African woman, Elma Francois, who was born in Overland, St. Vincent on October the 14th, 1897. Long before Dr. Eric Williams was born, and long before the People's National Movement was formed. A number of persons, including Arthur Calder Marshall, Professor Rhoda the Red Duck, Corey Gills, Jerry Besson, and Daria Healy have written about her. I attended a local play based on her life called The Fire Within. Her name lives in the Elma Francois Institute at the Cipriani College of Labor. Despite being designated a national heroine of Trinidad and Tobago in 1987, she is still not very well known in Trinidad and Tobago. There should be a monument for her, but Trinidad and Tobago seems adverse to monuments to women. When she left school at Fifth Standard, Francois managed to find work at a sugar factory. Her passion for social justice led to her dismissal for trying to organize the other workers into a trade union. Elma moved to Kingston, the capital of St. Vincent, where her son Conrad was born. In 1919, the young stalwart left a 2-year-old child with relatives and migrated to Trinidad. She worked as a maid at Stallmeyer's Castle around the Savannah and joined Captain A.A. Cipriani's Trinidad Workingmen's Association. Francois educated herself by reading widely and soon began to give public speeches about labor and political matters. The year 1919 was the year of the waterfront strike, the first general strike in Trinidad and Tobago. Anti-colonial sentiments has been building in Trinidad for many years. The strikers were angered by local conditions and were inspired by the TWA, which comprised many demobilized soldiers who had returned from the World War I, bitter with the experiences they had overseas. Marcus Garvey movement and socialism were also part of their ideological persuasion. By 1934, she, together with her husband Jim Barrett, Christina King and others, formed the National Unemployment Movement to coordinate hunger marches to draw attention to the harsh conditions among Africans and Indian workers. Later, the group was transformed into the Socialist Negro Welfare Social and Cultural Association, NWSCA, which also had Indian and Chinese members. It was called a social and welfare organization in order to attract women. The NWSCA, amongst myriad activities, organized the unemployed, lobbied for small traders, celebrated Emancipation Day, and started a newsletter called the New Emancipator, which gives pride of place to the Black working class. In 1935, when the Italian dictator Mussolini invaded Ethiopia, the NWSCA held a mass meeting in October and mobilized dock workers to boycott Italian ships. Jerry Besson reported that the rally generated support from other levels in the society. When Tubal Uriah Buzz Butler called the 1937 strike in Faizabad, Elmer Francois went to South Trinidad. Within a short time, the NWSCA had instigated the first strike in Port of Spain. The colonial authorities arrested Francois and members of the NWSCA and charged them with sedition. It was the first time in Trinidad and Tobago history that a woman was charged under this law. I want to stick a pin quickly. This was not the PNM government. This was in 1937. The PNM was only formed in 1956. I need to always put that there. The sedition trial took place between October 1937 and February 1938. Elmer Francois successfully defended herself without a lawyer. Professor Reddock recorded a moment in the trial when prosecutor C.T.W. E. Worrell asked Francois why she persisted in making speeches which were causing disaffection amongst His Majesty's subjects. Elmer Francois replied, "I don't know why my speeches create disaffection. I know that my speeches create a fire in the minds of the people so as to change the conditions which now exist. And it isn't for me here to tell you what is existing, because I believe that you are son of some working class family, despite your lofty position as you stand before me as a prosecutor." Jim Barrett, her husband, however, was jailed for 9 months. She later went on with others to form a number of trade unions in Port of Spain, including the SWWTU and the Federated Workers Trade Union, which is now NUGFW. Elmer Francois died broken-hearted in 1944, shortly after her son Conrad joined the British colonial army to fight in World War II. As a socialist, she had been opposed to the war. Tribute there to Ms. Elmer Francois. And if they want to remember her, because show on the Labor Day platform with all the lick-licking and brown mouthing they was doing, I sure nobody said a little word for Elmer Francois. As NUGF comes down there in the numbers, I sure the leader, if he said it, I will take back what I say. But I sure the leader didn't even mention the woman was instrumental in forming that large union, that he lead that today in that big, powerful numbers. Yes, there was big and powerful. We will come to that. Professor Reddock, who would have done a lot of study on Elmer Francois, this is her here. We need to also thank her. Oh Lord, I didn't put up the picture. Director, if you listen, put up the picture there with me and Professor Reddock, please. And those people, you know, They may know me, but I knows them. So, Director, if you're listening, put up the picture with me and Professor Reddock, please. Let people see who is Professor Reddock. While moving on, so let me continue while I'm waiting for the picture. So, you know, there's a conversation that the People's National Movement, anti-union, and they don't like union and all kind of thing and all kind of talk and talk. But if you go and look in the history, you would see the party that has been no party is perfect, of course, but the Industrial Relation Act coming from the Industrial Stabilization Act, all the different acts that we have, the industrial code that protects and is a code for workers to vote for their rights. You have the OSHA Act being put into law and so much other legislation that it is unfair to just blanketly say that the PNM anti-labor. But I will show you, I will play something for you all, and you all will make a determination for yourself who is more anti-union, but has show them crumbs than the present UNCA. That's a decision all you will make. I'm not saying who isn't and who isn't, right? So this is a picture here of me and Professor Reddock, very brilliant woman there. I met her at a book launch of George Weeks. Another doctor, something had written the book and I was there. And she made herself known to me after I would have stood up and mentioned that they don't speak much about women in the labor movement. She and her whole crew was into the back and I hear them clapping and things. So after, when she done, she introduced herself and I was so happy to meet her because I had read this article where she would have, the person who wrote the article would have cited what she would have said about the Elmer Franco winning the first woman to be charged for sedition, not under the PNM. That was in 1937-38, and would have won a case and what she would have said to the prosecutor. So another brilliant woman also, Professor Rhoda Reddock. So let me continue. So as I was saying, they talk about the PNM anti-union or some kind of thing to that effect. So listen to this.
The OWTU President General contends that under the collective bargaining agreement, the secondment from Trinma to lead the union should continue, but now he's being called back to work.
They wrote to the Union's General Secretary advising him in 1 month time that the positions of the President General, the office holder, myself, First Vice President and the Chief Labor Relations Officer, all top positions in the Union, that these officers must return to their jobs.
Roger says it looks like an attempt to leave the union rudderless.
We took the position after careful examination of the contents of that letter that it is most disrespectful, it's unprecedented, it's a frontal attack on the union and its leadership, and therefore we will not be returning to work. Nowhere in the history of this trade union we could have recounted a time when the top officers would have gone back to their job.
He insists that this is against the spirit and the letter of the trade union movement.
The collective agreement provides for us to be on secondment, and it says that in situations that are not normal, these office holders would have extensions. That's the essence of that particular agreement. And therefore the position of a President General of the Office Workers Trade Union is not a normal position. You don't make a President General of an OWTU every day.
Members of his union who gathered outside of Petrotrin this morning told him they support his move not to return.
No board of directors of Petrotrin and its management would send the President General back to work. That will not happen. Not happen at all. Fire us if you so desire, and we will take it from there.
Letters were also served to First Vice President Carlton Gibson and Chief Labor Relations Officer John Brussel. Roger addressed Trinma's top official Keith Ramnett
to take this and put it where his sun don't shine.
Roger told his audience he believes the order came from higher up, perhaps even from some in government. Trinma and Petrotrin officials were not immediately available for comment on this development. Samson Anton, CNC3, Port of Spain.
So good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. With great amusement, I want to welcome Ansel Roger to the heart of Port of Spain, North St. Anne's West, Belmont, and ask him, when he told BP, take your rig and go, how many workers lost out on opportunity? How many years it took us to get back the rig building work for Trinidad and Tobago? Don't follow him, you know, because he's done nothing for the movement. I want to ask him this morning, how many more people you're going to lead us straight? And then last thing I want to ask him, in 2014, when Auntie Kamala wanted to fire you from Petrotrin, who was your lawyer? And who saved you? Ingratitude worse than witchcraft. Have a good day, Ansel.
You see all the thing happened in 2014 under the PPUNC government that could be deemed anti-union, but today they want to say the PNM. Listen to this. This was in 2014, December. Kamala steals Roger thunder. When Oilfield Workers Trade Union OWTU President General Ansel Roger was a foreman at Trinma Limited, there was an incident where he exhibited gross carelessness and negligence in the execution of his duties and almost killed a colleague. In an attempt to cover up the near-fatal incident, Roger sought to bribe the injured employee to keep his mouth shut by offering him $300. Roger also gave false testimony during an investigation into the matter. The committee which investigated the incident recommended the maximum disciplinary action commensurate with the findings to be implemented against Roger as a result of his endangering of a colleague's life and then trying to conceal it. The OWTU also pressured those present to give false information on the event to the investigating committee. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar made his revelation during yesterday, sitting at the House of Representatives at the International Waterfront Center, Port of Spain, as she read an internal audit report from Trinma, dated November 1999. While Persad-Bissessar was making those disclosures, Roger was leading the Joint Trade Union Movement JTA National March Against Corruption. Persad-Bissessar said the massive march bust. Right now, I am told that the massive march that the member for Laventille West spoke about bust, the massive march that you plan even through your leader may have gone to join them, and this has been extinguished. The march has been extinguished, the Prime Minister said. That was Kamala Persad-Bissessar. And it will distinguish itself as being the most advertised march that just went totally squib and bust, she said. Persad-Bissessar said on Sunday, September the 19th, 1999, an incident occurred on platform 22 at Trinma, where compressor unit number 25 was restarted while a casual employee named Irvin Tulsi was in the cooler box. Tulsi's right ankle and foot were injured in the process by the fan hub rotating blade of the compressor fan. The compressor was on for approximately 2 to 3 minutes before it was shut down. Tulsi could have been killed. Roger was the foreman on that day of the incident. Rumors began circulating about the incident, and the head of the compressor group, Servatius Johnson, approached Tulsi and asked for a statement on the issue. On October the 21st, 1999, Tulsi submitted a statement. On October the 22nd, 1999, a committee was established to investigate the incident. The investigation found all 4 members of the repair crew initially conspired to conceal the accident. Roger denied the incident occurred when interviewed by the investigating committee. The OWT was pressuring all the crew members to withhold the truth and encourage them to give false information to the investigative committee. This was evidence then. This was evidence when Abraham Mohammed gave a false account of what happened on platform 22 on September the 19th, 1999 to the committee in which a union representative was present, the audit stated. 2 days later, in the presence of a commissioner of affidavits, Mr. A. Mohammed gave the actual account of the events surrounding the accident that occurred on compressor unit 25 on September the 19th, 1999. Mohammed said he was badgered by union officials who constantly called his home all hours of the night to ensure he withheld the truth from the committee. Trinma requested legal advice from law firm Boynes and Company on the issue in November 22nd, 1999. In conclusion, it is open to Trinma to make the ultimate disciplinary action of summary dismissal against Roger on the grounds of 1, negligence, 2, failure to show company procedure, 3, giving misleading and false information to the investigative committee, the representative of management, the advice stated. So that there is a history of 1 Roger. And as you heard, Member of Parliament for Port of Spain North sentence was stated. Who was the lawyer that saved the backside in a job? Stuart Richard Young. Ungratefulness, they say, but the PNM never go in no parliament and disrespect union like that. I never hear that. But the former Prime Minister, now Prime Minister, went and ridiculed him and rewrote the whole incident where he was responsible based on the report of a worker under his care could have died and then given false evidence and information and encouraging others and trying to pay off the man $300 for the man injury for him to say probably that didn't happen. So that is what we have when they're talking about the PNM. Don't like union. They also talk about the whole Petrotrin issue. And in that conversation, it is always as if the PNM wicked to the people and they didn't get anything. And PNM just shut down Petrotrin just so, because Petrotrin did making money. So them say, right? Look at this. Who is that you see there? Madam Camille Robinson Regis, at the time, Minister of HDC, Housing Development. This was August the 9th, a Guardian article, 2023. Almost 5 years after Petrotrin was closed down, residential lots to the tune of over 32 million was given to 180 of its former workers yesterday. And that yesterday would have been August the 8th, 2023. So when they keep saying, now I don't mind you saying enough, or everybody didn't get because of the amount of time they work, because if a company is going to lay off workers, retrench workers, all that, if you don't have much service, you will not get as much as those who have more service or who are in a higher position than you are. But 180 more former Petrotrin workers get state land. That was in 2023. But they say Petrotrin workers ain't get nothing from the government. So let me continue. Listen to this.
And listen when the previous speakers opened up the debate and talked about what the PNM did and what the PNM hate the union. And listen, Furthermore, and I was ashamed for the member for Point 14, he made a statement, and I'm responding to his statement. He said since 1937, the PNM attacking the OWTU. The PNM was born in 1956. So desperate is he, so desperate are they to score political points that they always resort to lies. For the same period of 2019 to 2024, Paria made $52.6 billion in revenue, paid $0.9 billion in taxes, and made a profit of $1.3 billion. These results are indicative of the benefits of the restructuring exercise that the government undertook. And that, Madam Deputy Speaker, and population of Trinidad and Tobago is why that very difficult decision was taken and implemented in late 2018. We took absolutely no pleasure in it. It was an extremely, we debated amongst ourselves as a cabinet for weeks. We explored every single option not to sink Trinidad and Tobago, which was the singular reason why the decision was taken. The singular reason. But in doing what we had to do, which was a restructuring, companies were created that are profitable, that will now be put at risk. $2.7 billion. It is a fact that they don't like to hear. $2.7 billion in cash paid. Cash to the former workers. CPEP workers got nothing. URP workers got nothing. That is their legacy.
Also, their legacy, let me just read this little part here, 2024 again in the Daily Express. Petrotrin's Trinma Marine Base at Point 14 was shut down yesterday. That was in 2014. As workers were informed that the Oilfield Workers Trade Union, OWTU President Inesta Kezar, was fired. He is now a minister in this UNC government. Kezar was on a 5-day suspension, was served a letter of termination effective Monday. Trinma Marine workers reported for duty yesterday, but as news of Kezar's dismissal spread, they walked away in protest. Led by OWTU President General Ansel Roger, workers marched through the streets of Point 14 to Victor Trinket Park, but police officers prevented the union from hosting a public meeting there, and workers marched to OWTU Hall in Point 14, where they were addressed by Roger. They were marching because Cesar, one of the branch, what you call him? One of their branch presidents was fired, Ernesto Cesar, who's sitting down now in the UNC. He was fired under the PP UNC government 2014. And when they were marching in support of Cesar, the president of OWTU, Roger, the police stopped them and they had to go in the building instead. But today, today is a different conversation. Listen also to this.
Taking us back to the period just prior to the decision to restructure Petrotrin. I've heard it, because of course it suits them, that even just a few moments ago, Petrotrin was shut down. It was never shut down. It still exists in law, and it still has legacy assets. It was restructured. So if I may, I start exactly there. Petrotrin was restructured. Petrotrin still exists as a legal entity. Its main business is holding various legacy assets. However, its original operations were restructured. Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Limited was incorporated as a holding company, with Petrotrin itself as one of its subsidiaries. The exploration and production operations were restructured into the successful company Heritage Petroleum Company Limited, which forms a part of the legislation before us here today. The provision of refined fuel products was taken on by Paria Fuel Trading Company Limited, Paria, which has successfully imported refined products, example, gasoline, diesel, aviation, fuel, etc., for the domestic market and for sale throughout the region. Paria is also a part of the legislation today, because what the legislation today is proposing to do, and will do, because there is a majority and a special majority, is it is now imposing on both Paria and Heritage and Guaracara, which was set up as a holding company to hold the refinery's assets, it is imposing on them OWTU as a recognized majority union, but also, importantly, the collective agreements in a retroactive manner to 2018. And what that means for the population is the terms and conditions that existed in 2018 as per the collective agreements with Petrotrin at the time, including the figures, the liabilities, that is now being imposed upon these two companies that have been in operation now for 8 years. So I'll get to the pragmatic side of how this exactly is supposed to operate, because it sounds good. It is excellent politics being played to come here on the eve of Labor Day and to rush this legislation, but it is the far-reaching consequences of the legislation, especially on the fiscal side, that one must pause and reflect on.
Right, and I think this has to do with some new legislation where OWTU may have got, what is this? Something working, is it? Something to do with OWTU being the representing union, I think for Paria and all of them. And as MP Young says, I kind of paraphrase on what he says, it's a good thing, you know, to have a union representing workers, but the problem is, when you do that, when you put into legislation who should represent workers as a union or not, you're going against the Industrial Relations Act. I should have looked for it before, where it speaks about freedom of association, and a person can join and be a part of any union of their choice. When you take away that from a worker and you tell them this is the union that you have to, that will be representing you, you are taking away their rights. And it appears that somehow, all of a sudden, there seems to be a taking away of people's rights. So even, I don't know if they're going to now interfere with the Industrial Relations Act and change that, because then again, that is a right that they will be taken away from people. Your right to be associated and not be victimized for being in association with any union. So if now, I'll say again, if you're going to make it where, put it into legislation that OWTU will be now representing these workers that they never used to represent before, then you're going against people's fundamental rights, especially those in the Industrial Relations Act. I would find it, you know, I would find it. I should have looked at it before, but I was down in Faizabad, so I had was to speed back up here, but I will get it. I will get it. I will definitely get it right. So let me continue as it continues. So we have that happening. These are some conversations used to also be happening. 2019, Moody's Lord Petrotrin closure. Moody's Investor Services believes government has so far shown effective policy making by restructuring Petrotrin, and you've heard member for Port of Spain, North St. will speak about Petrotrin still existing legally. However, it was restructured, and out of that became Heritage Holding and Paria. Yeah? So, and those are the money-making parts of Petrotrin that has been paying off Petrotrin debt. The International Credit Rating Agency posted that had the government not done so, it could have devolved into a potentially hazardous political and fiscal situation. Moody's released in its in-depth analysis of the TNT economy on Monday, noting that government is accepting bids for the Petrotrin Point of Pierre refinery. Moody's said if the new owners improve the refinery operations, this will have a positive short-term impact on economic growth and potentially positive effect over the longer term. In its report, Moody noted that almost after a decade of stagnation, TNT economy expanded again in 2018. Now, they can't say that what Moody put here, they don't believe, because Moody just released some type of another analysis of our economy that spoke something about stable or something that effect, and all of them jump on that. So you can't believe it when it's good news, and you can't believe it in another way, right? Standard & Poor's, now this was in the Guardian, 2015. Financially troubled state energy company Petrotrin suffered another blow to its fortunes this week after it was downgraded by Standard & Poor's rating services from S&P from BB plus stable to BB weak. This comes 6 months after another international rating agency, Moody's Investors Services, downgraded the company to a Ba1 from Baa3 and changed its outlook to negative from stable just weeks after Petrotrin new chairman warned that the energy company is in danger of going out of business. So there's a next rating agency again, 2019 or 18, 19, around there, saying the same thing. This one also now. Trinidad Daily Express, November 2018. Today marks the end of Petrotrin operation, and it's an understandably difficult period for all those affected, the company said in a statement on Friday afternoon. Consistent with its commitment, the company disbursed $2.7 billion in exit and other payments to its employees. The payment comprised of $1.8 billion in termination packages, $201 million for outstanding vacation, $150 million for medical and other benefits, and $55 million in payment for outstanding promotion. All 3,400 permanent employees received exit payments, and 1,229, or 55% of the company temporary workers, received ex gratia payments. Yeah? I don't know if they feel these things are not there. Anybody could go and research. This also was in 2017 Guardian, Petrotrin wages higher. Wages at the state-owned petroleum company of Trinidad and Tobago, Petrotrin, are not on par with other comparative energy companies. In many cases, Petrotrin's salaries are far higher. This information was shared in an online article by the Energy Chamber on Friday night, putting another spotlight on workers' earnings amidst demand for a higher salary in the looming threat of a strike set for tomorrow. Earlier this week, citizens expressed surprise and in some cases condemnation over what they felt were exorbitant salaries for cleaners who were said to be making approximately $10,000 a month. This is a far cry from cleaners in the non-energy sector who makes less than half of that for the same period. According to the Energy Chamber data, a foreman at Petrotrin earns approximately $22,000 monthly, compared to a foreman in a private oil sector who earns just above $12,000. So I will leave that there. There is some news coming out of the sector. So when they're speaking, they must speak everything. Don't just speak peace. Give both sides and let people make an informed decision. Yeah? So let me continue. So as I said, today was is Labor Day, and I went down there to see. And I want to tell all this something, yeah? But before I play that, before I tell all this, listen to this.
The UNC's National Economic Transformation Master Plan 2020 to 2025. This is Kamala's plan. As soon as we highlighted that they're going to devalue the dollar, if you go on their website today, they have taken it down because they are dishonest and all they seek to do is mislead Trinidad and Tobago.
Based on further investigations, Young also claimed that the UNC's plan includes selling state assets. He emphasized that these assets are critical to the government's ability to provide employment for citizens.
National Gas, NLCB, National Quarries, NP, MTS, Caribbean Airlines, NEDCO, TTT, T&Tech, WASA, E-Tech, Lake Asphalt, the port. Those are the UNC's plans. And watch and see how they try to distance themselves. Trinidad and Tobago, you are being cautioned and advised.
He cautioned the citizens about their choices ahead of the election, maintaining that if the UNC is elected, the country could face dire consequences.
Next week, Monday, if you take God out of your thoughts and you decide not to go and vote, and you decide not to vote for red, ready, and responsible PNM government, that, in addition to a devaluation of 15 to 1, in addition to the IMF reaching here within a year, will be what we will have to deal with.
Joshua Dan, Tobago Updates, the television news.
Since we are still in a tight financial spot, I would also urge that they consider the divestments or sale of certain state assets or state entities, because the proceeds from these sales will help to meet state spending without necessarily putting extra pressure on the debt levels. Plus, some of these entities and assets soak up a lot of much needed state finances each year through transfers, and these same state funds could be repurposed to more productive avenues.
With food security remaining a key area to be addressed, Dr. Arjun had this advice.
A clear plan could also be presented to lower the food import bill. This is something that I expect to see and to revamp, in order to revamp the agricultural sector through introducing, for example, smart agricultural technologies and practices locally that can optimize the agricultural production per acreage. Again, in line with the diversification thrust and reducing the dependency on food imports.
Right. So we were warned. I'm seeing Sister Sidina here saying, Sister Jenny, I know for a fact that cooks in Augusta Slum Hospital were working for $10K a month and had no idea about how to prepare eggs in different ways. I know about that part, but that is so sad. So now they're saying that the PNM demonized people in people's mind by saying that, you know, cleaner at Petrotrin was getting 10,000, whatever the case may be. Look, you, Sister Sidina, and I believe what you're saying. I was a cook in the public service, have to be over all them steam pot, brazen pan, fryer, my finger chopping, heat and more heat, cooking for, I work at St. Anne's Hospital, 1,000 patients when you say 1,000. A morning, a day I fry fish from as breakfast done, I never finish till about 1 o'clock. I'm moving from the spot, it's just fish and more fish to fry. Yeah, all the things that heat easy and all that. My salary, I retire from the service last December. My salary never reached $7,000 yet. But when I talk about them, other thing people has given me, I've actually nobody working for big money, you know. But understand the next side of it also, right? So let me continue. Oh, I found the area here in the Industrial Relations Act that speaks about is the agency shop order. Section 71, it says, every worker, as between himself, his employer, and co-worker, shall have the following rights. That is to say, A, the right to be a member of any trade union or any number of trade unions of his choice. B, the right not to be a member of any trade union or other organization of workers, or to refuse to be a member of any particular trade union or any other organization of workers. C, where he is a member of a trade union, the right subject to this act to take part in the activities of the trade union, including any activities as or with a view of becoming an official of the trade union, and if appointed or elected to hold office as such an official. So if you're going to put a union and say them as the one that to represent workers, you take away these rights. Because if this worker don't want to be a part of OWTU, what will happen to that worker? If the union, if that worker want to go on and join another union because he partner in that union too and he hear that union has do real good and grievances and all that, what are they doing? When are they just forcing a union and people say it's all about taking away people's rights? So that is what basically it is. I have nothing against unions, but they must also follow the regulations that are set out in the different acts because they fight for those things. So let me continue. So, as I say again, I went down to Labor Day and let me tell you something. Them union and them sell out, that's my opinion. They sell out. I saw Twitter long there and Twitter had a massive showing. And when they come up, the thing them went by the school and them had their own thing. I doubt they appeared on any stage with the rest of them. And also PSA, I could say, my opinion, PSA sell out. And I saw them coming in and I would have shown the crowd and whatever the case may be. So let me show you what the president of Twitter had to say. Not today, but prior, and then I'll show you the turnout.
Series of lies. Lies and lies and lies and lies. The Minister of Education stated that, what is it, back pay remains a priority of the Ministry of Education and they're working on it vociferously and so on. Watch it. This is circular here. You know, this is Twitter's take on it. Just lies. Lies. That's what it is. The Minister of Education has no interest in us receiving our money. When I spoke to him earlier on in the year, he said he doesn't get involved in such things. No, the Minister, I would like to ask you to possibly revisit that answer. You know why? Because it impacts on your ministry, which is the Ministry of Education. And just as we stated there, if it is that way, teachers, educators are not receiving their money until 2027, but I guess it's 2020, maybe, I'm not even sure, the goalpost can be shifted again. Right? Because every time you think that you're getting some traction, we are seeing the goalpost being shifted by the powers that be. Only lies, more lies. I like it. And it doesn't matter. Twitter is not here. We're not here for a popularity contest. We didn't throw a hat in the ring to be national officers, to be popular. We came to serve our membership, and that is what it is about. You may not like us, it doesn't matter. We are doing what the Constitution of Twitter says that we have to do. We are carrying out the mandate of various portfolios. So let's stop the lies. Find the money to pay the teachers. Otherwise, all those extra things that teachers do, well, who knows? Not who knows, for sure, they're going to stop. They're going to stop. They're not going to be doing it. And if it is that you try, as my comrade said, to victimize any of our educators, we have a strong legal department, and we will treat you that. It is unfortunate though, sometimes you hear in public space, in terms of the ministers and so on, that they don't mind. They welcome legal action. But I want to put a little 2 cents in it. And I want the public community to think about this. When the Prime Minister and other persons say that they welcome litigation, whose money are they using to go to court? Your money, your taxpayers' money. I want you to know that. So they're saying they want you to go to court. Why didn't they dip their hand in their own pocket and say, listen, I'm so confident that we will win. I'm going to put my money in the pocket. They will never do that. They're using your taxpayers' money to fight us. Same taxpayers just as yourself. Just bear that in mind. We are all citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. All citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. We make a part of the electorate as well. I want them to take that and put that in a pipe and smoke it, because a day will come. A day of reckoning will come. It's not a trick. It is simply word to the wise. So let us stop the lies. And I want educators to be aware. Know your worth. Know your value. Know that you are precious. You are a gem. You are hardworking. You are the backbone of Trinidad and Tobago. Know that. Understand that. And if there are other persons who would not have seen that, we will hope that they will see the light They will understand what educators are going through. And as we say, long and short of it, pay the educators the money, pay the teachers the money, find the money, you have it, we know that you have it. Don't allocate it to other things that you deem important. Education is important. There is no price, no value that you can put on your education. Do not do the children of the nation that. Do not do them that. Give them a fair chance. Give the educators their money. Thank you. Yeah.
So that's President Christophe Belval, I think Ash, that's the name. This is a little look at Tutor today. Yeah, so that there, ouch. That there is Tutor showing today, massive showing, and they're serious. They want the money. I hear some of them saying that the money was already there for them when they signed the 5%, and that is the money they take and give public officers. I don't know if that is true. I just send away the sentiment. They say that money where PSA members get, that was their money that was allocated when they signed off on the 5% wage increase. Emmeline Roots in America, thank you all for coming and hang out with us. Let me continue. So I want to show you all this. Kia Seeley has come back in the country. She's out on bail, but this is a picture of her. They arrested her at the airport and she appeared in court. I think this is her mom carrying her here. I guess it's to put her in the police vehicle after taking her out of the wheelchair. And if this don't do something to people, the empathy that Nyla Blackman spoke about, if you have no empathy for this, because everybody innocent until proven guilty. And she came back to deal with whatever case. I understand that they haven't taken her passport and she's able to travel for medical services, but I think that's what I'm hearing, that she just has to let the court know. I think she's on $700,000 bail, or it's $70,000, one of the two. I must see zero too much, or I'll probably see the 3 zeros after. So it's either 70,000 or 700,000 TT, one out of the two. But I understand she is an American citizen. I don't know if it's by birth or by other means. So that is how they are carried by her mom to put in the vehicle when she was arrested. Watch this now.
This is great PR for the police service. Great PR.
There's a bunch of black men doing this.
Oh, you're shameful.
Black men.
Oh, you're shameful.
I cannot imagine it.
You all are shameful. And your ego is fragile.
She and the worst, not arrest.
Oh my God. This is ridiculous.
What you're seeing there, Alyssa Phillip, who has carried on these protests saying justice for Kia Seeley and Joshua, because she and Kia Seeley and another girl who's usually with her, they all from Bishop, they are good friends and all that, so they have started all these protests. She came down apparently to deliver the celebration in protest, and riot police, and she and the mother was arrested. Again, listen to David Abdullah.
Tell me when you're ready. Okay, so I was informed by one of my MSA colleagues who was at the back of the march, close by where Alyssa and her mother and her cousin and so on were in the march. Before the march started, I went to speak with Alyssa and her mother, cousin, and other of the young people who were there, and indicated that there shouldn't be any problem. They're coming down, everybody is coming down to the march, there should be no difficulty. So when I got to Charlton Junction a short while ago, I got the call from my colleagues saying that they had detained Alyssa. We don't know what the legal reason is for that. Apparently it was very intimidating because a number of heavily armed police or another detachment of heavily armed police surrounded the group that was there, including my two colleagues who were part of that group, and detained Alyssa. And I mean, I'm going simply on what is reported to me, but what my colleague said is that the police were saying that because they're not a trade union, they're not supposed to be down there, which is nonsense, because anybody could be part of this demonstration. It's June 19th, and the trade union movement has always welcomed people to be part of the demonstration. And they were very peaceful, and there was absolutely no reason to detain them. And this is just a straight case of an attempt to intimidate and harass Alyssa Phillip because she's fearless, and it's an indication that the police are scared of her and scared of the fact that she is standing up for justice and standing up and speaking out against what she perceives to be wrong in this country. And the status quo, particularly the police, are scared of that. And that is an indication of us heading towards a police state. Yes, we are in a state of emergency, but there is no restriction under the regulations for demonstrations unless it is within 500 meters of particular buildings and police stations, which itself is a violation of the constitutional rights of citizens. But the state of emergency was explicitly declared, as expressed in the proclamation by Her Excellency the President, to deal with gang violence, increase other kinds of violence, and threats against various public officials, and threats from within the prison and so on. That was the expressed reason for the state of emergency, as stated in the proclamation, which was then became also part of the parliamentary record. And public protest and demonstration and public expression and assembly was never a factor in the declaration of the state of emergency. And this is absolutely wrong. It's a travesty of our rights as citizens, and is an indication that the police has lost control, because what they ought to be doing is not arresting Alyssa Philip and other young people. They ought to be dealing with those who engage in serious crimes in the country. And in my view, this is heading towards a police state, and I'm condemning it 100%.
I had to give David Abdullah tips because he's a man stand on his convictions when it comes to Cuba and other things. So I was giving him life for that. So you heard him, what he says there. This, I would have, listen to this.
Let's welcome the executive of NUGFW, its executive officers, and other members. What a huge show here this afternoon in Pakistan. Can we have the numbers? Please, we are asking for anybody who is the audience as well to provide some medical assistance. Please just be right. And of course, you the members made it happen.
All that settle, ain't getting nothing. Where's non-cash payment? Where's non-cash payment? Oh, they're balling and laughing. What is non-cash payment? What they get? Nobody don't negotiate for non-cash payment. When you're working, you get money every month. You don't get no non-cash payment. What are they so happy about? 10% on out it is non-cash payment. NUGFW
was such a strong show when you fight about today.
And out of that 10% is non-cash payment. What is non-cash payment? What is non-cash? When you work, when the month comes, you just get a salary. What is non-cash payment? What is the happiness about? They never said 10% will include non-cash payment. Yes, they want to set up a non-cash payment. What is non-cash payment? What is non-cash payment? A shame for PSA. PSA is such a shame. Shame and more shame for PSA. PSA sellout workers. They never tell you 10% will have in it non-cash payment. PSA sellout workers. PSA sellout workers, Felicia and them sellout workers. They never tell me nothing about non-cash payment. Not today they don't hear. Shame on PSA. Shame. Shame on PSA. Shame on PSA. All you sellout. All you sellout workers. Shame. Felicia Thomas, shame. Shame on you. You sellout workers. Nobody never tell you to go for non-cash payment. Shame, 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 shame. Shame! 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 She sell out PSA! She sell out public officers! She on a board! She on a RHA board! Sell out! Sell out! Shame! 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 Sell out! Sell out! Sell out! Sell out! Sell out! Sell out! Sell out for board position! Sell out for board position! Sell out for board position! Shame! 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 Sell out! Sell out! Sell out! Sell out! Sell out for board position! Sell out for board position! 60% non-cash! What is non-cash? What is non-cash? Sell out! Sell out! PSS sell out! PSS sell out! PSS sell out! Felicia Thomas sell out! Sell out! She on a board! She sell out! She's a part of the government! Sell out! She sell out workers! PSS sell out workers! What is non-cash payment? What is non-cash payment? Sell out! Sell out! PSS sell out! Felicia Thomas sell out! What is non-cash payment? What is non-cash payment? PSS sell out! Felicia sell out for a board work! She sell out for her work on the board of directors of NCRHA! Sell out! Shame! 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 Shame on PSA! Shame! Shame! Shame on PSA! Shame on PSA! Shame on PSA! They sell out! Sell out workers! Felicia, sell out workers! All you sell out the workers! What is non-cash payment? What is non-cash payment? You just work for a salary. When the month comes, sell out! Shame! PSA, shame! Shame! Shame!
Well, by now you'll probably know that's my voice in the back there. Madam Wine, what she there? Yeah, you see how she said, not like she taking tin as well. Girl, I'm glad feel. You're looking fit. I hope it's fit, you're fit. I hope it's fit, you're fit, because I tell you already, the tears of public officers, the retirees and them who ain't getting nothing. When they bruise their knee, the tears ain't gonna fall on the ground, you know. You're starting to look like you're thinning away, like yourself and thing your flag, all that good, you know. But you never sit down with public officers and not general council, the members who have pay a salary, to tell them that 10%, because when you was going around with Leroy Baptiste, who is now the Minister of Labour, always telling people what 10%, only never tell them part go be non-cash payment. They believed they was going to get money. Now when they come, the Minister of Finance, letting you know, well, what the CPO say is what the Minister of Finance tell you to say. So when the CPO say, take it or leave it, I put it my way, 60% non-cash and 40% cash, that coming from the boss. The boss is the Minister of Finance. Look at the Minister of Finance on there today. They're whining and all here. Imagine the Minister of Finance down who they fire 10,500 CPF workers, URP workers, contracted workers, agency workers of 40,000. And every morning they get up is a tax and a tax and a tax and a tax. And he ride in the crowd, nothing wrong in that, you know, because this is Trinidad and Tobago, it's a love at the end of the day. But this is labor. This is labor, and he ride there taking pictures with all the placard and things. Nothing wrong in that. Nothing wrong in that, but ain't that something? Yeah? They're whining on all your face and pissing on all your face and says rain, and people say, oh my God, it's yellow. Probably it's vitamin and it's warm too. Labor in a mess, labor sell out and talk about PSA. Me nobody mother union, I could talk about PSA. I was a member in PSA for years, paying my dues. I was a shop steward for years, so I could talk. I've always been talking out on PSA. And Felicia Thomas, you go meet it. You go meet it. When you start to drag, Miss Lady, it might be physically. Turn around and remember the members who you fool, and the workers and them who, the retirees and them can't get their money. All they think it's right here, all they think it's soft. All they think it's soft for these people. Like yourself, girl. You're looking slim and fit on the hair and you're flinging the flag and you're tinging and, hey, Like yourselves, longest rope have an end. Guys, I just tell you that's what old people are saying. Because nothing don't last forever. But you sell out workers, that's my opinion. You sell out workers, Felicia Thomas. And because of that, the tears of them retirees who retired years ago and then get no money and now hearing about non-cash and all kind of stupidness, it go fall on you. And you know what people say, when people tears fall on you and they deserve it, you know what does happen. I talking spiritual thing, darling. Like yourself. You like yourself. Nothing wrong in that. Also, Dr. Munilal was down there too. Everybody thinking, wherever. Let me tell you something, eh? The UNC could do people what they want, especially African people, and they could just go, someone that say at time, oh, even Philip Alexander. Oh, listen to me now, what they're good, yes. Uriah Bus bottom must see turning in the grave, not to see it have people all races down there, you know, but to see the people who are pressing all here, who don't pressing all here financially with all the taxes and the firing and all them things, comfortable amongst all them, all this holding hand and solidarity for what all they got to put the wreath on Uriah Bus Butler grave, his spirit shall come up and slap all this silly. Well, should I get whiplash and all kind of lash? Anyway, all of us continue to Trinidad and Tobago at the end of the day. We are one people, we have our issues and challenges and whatever, but right is right and wrong is wrong. Yeah, we don't forget that. Right is right and wrong is wrong. So let me continue. So I'm saying, well, it's easy, you know. While they're doing all them things, this is what, let me see who I got to tell somebody. This is what these people are saying. Them is the chambers of who? While noting that the mid-year budget review, I'm not reading this whole thing, by Finance Minister Devendra Tank, who addressed major public sector expenditures, Chamber head said businesses remains constrained by diversification bottlenecks, delay in value-added tax, refunds, tight access to foreign exchange and crime. That is what I'm saying there. Let me see who again. Again, let me see here, them here now. Bam. TNT economy is dying. Just now, let me find that story. TNT economy is dying. Come now, man. Let me see the whole thing just now. Oh gosh, what's going on here? TNT businesses say that they are being squeezed on all fronts. Soaring crime-related costs, a stubborn foreign exchange crunch, and rising economic uncertainty. Them saying that there. Let me see who again. While I'm saying that, listen to this one. I'm going to take down this one from here. Venezuela gas. The pipelines will flow to Trinidad. The cash will not. This was by Tony Paul yesterday in The Guardian. Before we celebrate a gas revival, TNT must ask who owns the gas, who sells the LNG, who captures the upside, and what remains to the country. TNT has heard this kind of promise before. New gas is coming. The plant will run again. Foreign exchange will improve. Jobs will be protected and the economy will breathe easier. After years of decline in production and anxious headlines about Atlantic LNG and Point Lisas, it is easy to understand why Venezuelan gas now feels like a lifeline. But before the country celebrates a new gas renaissance, we should ask a harder question. When the gas finally flows across the border, who will actually get paid? That is why the Minister of Finance Recent concern about revenue from cross-border and external gas should not be treated as a passing political exchange. It goes to the center of the national question. If gas produced outside TNT enters this country for processing, liquefaction, industrial use, or export, how exactly will TNT get revenue and foreign exchange? This is not an anti-investor question, nor is it an anti-Venezuelan question. Venezuela owns the gas in its water and absolutely deserves the benefit from its development. TNT challenge is different. We have infrastructure, LNG capacity, petrochemical demand, ports, pipeline, train workers, and a long gas monetization history. Those assets have value. The task is to convert that value into a fair, durable, and collaborative arrangement that remains attractive to Venezuela while protecting TNT interests. And we don't know already, the government don't have anybody on their side to really do that work. We know already that because of the hostile kind of behavior between this government and Venezuela, the kind of things that have happened, we don't need to go through that again. And we know also that those international companies, Shell and BP and things, they're sitting on by the table with Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago not there. Under the PNM, Trinidad and Tobago was leading those discussions, and BP and Shell and them was along for the ride. Yeah, because they have the expertise to do XYZ, but we was leading it. So we was making sure we share out of this thing was good enough. Now Shell and them doing it, it's them share and their shareholders first, which is not in Trinidad, and we might get a little dust. It's like somebody using a maxi and them driving up and only. You ain't get any full value of that. You'll get part of your overs and that may not be a good analogy. But at the end of the day, the gas is not ours. It come in and they're using our pipeline and infrastructure. But we're not on the table to say, hey, it coming through we pipeline, It's Shell who bringing it across or BP who bringing it across and doing all the refining and liquefying, whatever. Them is the one at the table making the deal. So how much money we really getting? Then I see in our next conversation on Gregory Maguire, Garcara refinery reopening. Can Moody's stable outlook convince buyers? The chairman of Garcara Refining Company Limited has linked Moody's recent credit outlook revision for TNT to improve prospects for sale and the start of the point-of-pay refinery. It is worth examining the connection carefully. Moody changed its TNT outlook from negative to stable, and a Ba2 rating itself was unchanged, leaving the country 2 notches above investment grade. That is positive. That is a positive signal for a government. For a government borrowing costs. But sovereign credit outlook and refinery project economics are different matters. A prospective buyer decision will be driven by crude supply security, product margin, reconfiguration, cost, capital cost, and long-term demand, none of which were affected by this development. The refinery has also been idle since 2018, and the chairman confirmed that a restart model has not yet been finalized. The Moody action is welcome news for TNT microeconomic standing, but the path for a stable outlook of a closed refinery sale requires considerable more than improved investor sentiments. The person was here thought. And that is true, the refinery down since 2018, all kind of things must have fallen apart because it's our own refinery in the first place and it was always producing at a loss because of the fact of the age of the refinery. Not only that, we have to be buying crude oil on the open market every day to meet the 40-something thousand barrel or 50-something thousand barrel of the local drillers. So we wouldn't have, and you can't just refine the local crude alone. That makes no sense. The capacity of Petrotrin is about 140,000 barrels per day or 190, somewhere around there. So that will be buying crude every day in US money, and that will source the crude. And you have to bring the refinery back up to standard first before you start doing that. So let them do fool all there. While all that bacchanal going on, to all proponents notice of cancellation, the Trinidad and Tobago Housing Development Corporation hereby notifies all participating proponents the procurement procedure for the above reference project have been cancelled pursuant to Section 33 of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act 2015 amended. What this is, you remember the 300 and something billion, 3 point something billion dollars with this landmark or land gate or land whatever, where Saddam Hussein name was calling and all kind of bacchanal, and it went before the procurement, what do you call them, the procurement and something. Well, let's stop the whole damn project. That's the whole thing. Let's stop the project. So listen to this. Let's stop the whole project.
There we have Aga catch in the act. AGC scraps $3.4 billion housing procurement programs. So it was giving out contracts without tender. So it was just giving who all they wanted to give, right? All the partner and them were gone. Then now people ask little questions and things, and all they find, something wrong. The OPR, the Office of Procurement Regulation now, decide, let me open my investigation into this seemingly inconspicuous $3.4 billion. That's all it was given out in contracts for housing. So instead of trusting the process like all they keep telling we to do with other situations, we can go talk about that, all they keep telling we trust the process. If we should trust the process, why all they didn't trust the process and let the OPR finish the investigation? I just asked. I get catch in the act. And I say, well, hey, don't investigate me no more. I stop. Because if I catch a man leaving the grocery with a trolley full of groceries that he did not pay for, I'm not going to give him a medal for honesty. You get catch on some folly, and then you say, well, hey, don't worry now, I stop. Canceling this program ain't change the fact that you try to do what you try to do. You know? All these spin doctors and mental gymnasts that going and come out and try and change up this story, try again. Because all they get catch, all they come out and defend it, and now all they cancel it. If nothing wrong, why they cancel it? Answer that question, and I go hush. Answer that one question, and I go hush.
All right. Mag bust thing get catch. Based on what the fellas saying. Listen to this. All these things happening, you know. This is the land of the UNC, you know. Listen to this.
As we heard in the Standing Finance Committee, a conversation about who is being paid for fees, and there's an auditing of fees. Auditing of fees should always take place. So if there's a proper auditing of fees in the legal departments before they are paid, that is good for the taxpayers. But what we have been hearing is that out of the Office of the Attorney General, attorneys who are retained by the state are being dismissed and not being allowed to argue cases in court. This morning, Trinidad and Tobago woke up to see the result of one of those, with a former Attorney General who we asked, this is to do with the demonetization of the $100 bills. We asked, what is the relationship between the plaintiff and Anand Ram Logan and his client, correct? Is it his deceased mother-in-law, as well as the person who took place, is that now his brother-in-law? And the case that we have finally gotten a decision for, because we saw in the newspapers the suggestion, Mr. Speaker, that there were 2 senior counsel retained by the state directly related to the legal fees out of the Office of the Attorney General, Gilbert Peterson and Michael Kwamina. The decision that now exists for the compromise of this action shows that for the defendant, the Attorney General, it was Monica Spitt, instructed by Brent James. And you hear the former speaker who spoke on the other side saying with glee in his voice, he fired them, Trinidad and Tobago, your matters are being compromised and sabotaged by the Office of the Attorney General.
Right, remember we have a conversation about the woman who didn't get to change the $10,000 when they changed it to the polymer because she was prevented from coming in the country during COVID-19, and some Privy Council ruling that it was unfair, whatever, and she getting now 40,000 TT because of whatever damages, blah, blah, blah. And then you heard the former Attorney General would have said about this government should, paraphrasing people, this government should look into people who have all these old notes to bring them back in. And based on what the Member of Parliament for the spin-out sentence was saying, that woman, it is alleged, is the former AG, Anaram Logan, mother-in-law, and the person who taking on, who carrying on the case now, whatever, is he brother-in-law. I don't know, Papa. I don't know. So let me move on. Listen to this one here.
And I will deal with that. I won't call their names, but 10 of them, hear it? Wife on this board. Hold on. Sister on that board. This is gender neutral. Your man on the next board. Gender neutral. Gender neutral.
Right here, all you think it easy. All them thing happening, but they up in thing holding hands, solidarity forever, and workers getting a kick in the behind while them living nice. It was alleged at one time. I don't know if it's still true, if it's gonna be true, but I know that Roger retired a long time, and I always ask, are you receiving a salary of $90,000 a month? Is there anything in all the constitution that say that you don't have to be a part of a bargaining unit to still remain as the president of OWTU, or it could be past the age of retirement to 60, it could be in the 70 and all kind of thing and still be, I don't know. And I say to myself at time I watch us say, this is my opinion, I saw us Americans, you know, this vibrant young person to take over OWTU, like he getting gray waiting. He getting gray and old looking and all kind of thing, waiting on must see this to happen, in my opinion, oh God, like they're sucking the youth out of the fella, poor thing. Why all that going on? Listen to this pundit here. I think he's the one who may have said that Africans, urban youths, in East-West Corridor targeting Indians in Aranguez. I think it may be him. If I'm not, my apologies, Pundit Satyanan. So Pundit Satyanan would have written a little thing. I'm going to read a little piece, The Unmasking of the PNM. Up until 1986, no Hindus served in a PNM cabinet in Trinidad and Tobago. For many Hindus, this absence raised legitimate questions about representation and whether their voices were being heard in the highest levels of national decision-making. For decades, many Indo-Trinidadians felt the stone on the sidelines, watching as opportunities like government housing in Maloney, La Hoqueta, and elsewhere went to others. Civil service jobs, teaching roles, and positions in the police, Coast Guard, and Army were largely filled by Afro-Trinidad. We waited, we worked hard, built businesses, educated our children, saved and helped build this nation, while others rely on handouts like Jude, Lit, CPEP, whatever name they give to non-productive programs. I just want to tell Satya and the pundit, you know, the first builders in Trinidad and Tobago, people of African descent, is one too. And those CPEP workers and stuff that you're denouncing, if they serve no value and they weren't productive, why would the Minister of Local Government try to replicate that same program, have people cut the road and cut the grass and all that? If it's non-productive, these work that are happening, then why, when it's not there, that you're looking to replace people to do the work? And not even only people, because you fire 10,500, not you, sir, but you see, right? And you like to look down on people who do at the lower end of the scale, cleaners and garbage men and all that. If they don't do the work, well, let me tell you something, we can't do nothing. The whole place was shut down, right? And smell, stink, and that kind of vibes, right? And this whole conversation about all the train work hard, our train have worked just as hard. I was showing some pictures of some students and scholars from Beetham Gardens, and I can show from all over Trinidad and Tobago. We have been doing well, but African people don't have a tendency to show off and say what they do. Or if in a business is successful, they don't show off and say anything. They just go about doing their business because excellence is a normal thing in the African community, and I'm sure in other communities also. But we just don't talk about it, right? And when we talk about business, there are certain reports out there. If you look at Dr. Darius Figaro's book, he speaks about those businesses. Not me, I didn't write anything, I don't know anything about that. But he writes about those businesses, and then we heard conversations that, again, nothing to do with me. I just see it, you know, people like Dolce and Naya and the Pulu and the this brother and that, whatever it is, and the monies and the businesses. I just saying I don't know. There was a conversation. If I'm wrong, I can be corrected anytime. I don't know everything, right? And then he went on to speak about what MP Curry Marcel would have said about fanning the flames of racial tension, and he should be arrested for sedition. And all kind of thing, right? So I think, listen to this. Oh Lord, just now. Hey, give me a minute. So I put this, for from the love of balance. The Special Branch Monthly Intelligence Summary for May 1962 reports on the racial, religious, and related matters as follows. The Indian Association of Trinidad and Tobago, the IATT, held several meetings during the month for the purpose of raising funds for financing a formal delegation by Jean Bahadur Singh, president of the association, to go to the United Kingdom to protest the draft Constitution of Independence. At one of these meetings, Kenneth Lala, a member of the managing committee of the organization, advocated civil disobedience and urged members to be ready at a moment's notice to march. Other speakers, including H.P. Singh, who I always say is one of the biggest racists this country produced, Hari Prasad Singh, Secretary of the Public Relations Officer. Secretary and Public Relations Officer suggested that they should resort to violence if the wishes of the association were not granted. The Indian Association of Trinidad and Tobago has formed an action committee allegedly for the purpose of planning acts of violence and sabotage, as well as training men for the purpose. It is reported that Conrad Gonzalez Trinidadian, whose occupation was given as engineer, was appointed the field organizer of the committee. A report indicated on the 25th of the 5th month, 1962, a decision had been taken to attack police stations, bridges, and Negroes residing in areas where there was a predominance of East Indian origin. This was not implemented, however, because it was subsequently felt that such action would have been precipitated, especially as Dr. Reginald Capildeo had said that he was confident of success in his talks in the UK. So I wonder if the goodly pundit is aware of that, and it was Indian people planning those things. We also have one who was prior to the Indian Association of Trinidad and Tobago with H.P. Singh and them, one Mr. Francis Evelyn Mohammed Hossain, 1880 to 1936. Indian scholar, you can't dispute that. He would have said that Indian intellectual of his day, F.E.M. Hossain, arguably the leading Caribbean intellectual of his day and an important politician in Trinidad and Tobago, in 1913, he likened his African compatriots to an inferior race. That they also was coming from a person of Indian descent. Then you know what we had? We had Miss Hulsi Bagan, you all remember her, a UNC MP under Mr. Pandey. In August 30th, 2023, somebody wrote, it was Junior Diaz, a Dominican-American writer, who said, stereotypes are sensual cultural weapons, that's the way we attack people. In 1993, I didn't think I put up a picture of her. No. Anyway, in 1993, former Member of Parliament, Hulsi Bagan, made an outlandish and dangerous claim when she said that men of African descent were terrorizing and raping women of East Indian descent in central Trinidad. She organized the Shoguna's constituents to march against crime and encouraged them to form vigilante groups to exterminate African men who were targeting the homes of East Indians. And it was a lie. Remember when the left and run to Canada stating that the investigation, the Canadians and do investigation and all that, that's how we ended up having to get visa to go Canada, because when they looked, there was no truth in it at all. So I wonder if the goodly pundit would be aware of those acts of racism and violence, potential violence against people of African descent by those of Indian descent. That's why I say when we talking, we talk the two sides properly. I am all for race relations in this country. When the talks begin, I want to be a part of that because we have to find a way to live and continue to live in peace in this country, all races together. Then I would have put for him also, I hope he saw it, IRC separators desire incontestable. This was in the Guardian. The Indian Review Committee letter of June 27 in response to somebody wrote an article, right? And it says here that the IRC proposed to separate the country. That is what they did. And it had a group who actually did that down across the Caroni Bridge, well, outside of the lighthouse, because the Prime Minister mentioned that outside of the lighthouse is a real country with real people, with real ambition, real dreams, and real ideas, right? So those who within the lighthouse, we're not real, we're not real people, we have no ambition, we have no dreams, we have nothing. So outside there, across the Caroni Bridge, there was a group who separated themselves from the rest of the country. They call themselves Hindustan or something like that. And eventually they packed up and went to Canada. And Hari Prasad Singh, in his book, because he wrote a book about the injustices against people of African descent. His book proposed, right, a partition in his writing between 1956 and 1962. Singh advocated for racial solution to protect the Indo-Trinidadian community from what he perceived as Black domination by the Afro-Creole-led PNM government. Partitioner Trinidad, Singh explicitly called for the partition of the island to create a separate space where the Indian population could exercise autonomy. This yearning for the Indian homeland envisioned a territory sometimes called Hindustan or Indish. Later iteration of these ideas, supported by groups like the Indian Review Committee, the RIC, even suggested more ambitious plans, such as uniting Guyana, Suriname, and Trinidad into a single Indian-dominated state in the Americas. These separatist ideas were used as leverage during constitutional negotiations, such as the 1962 Independence Conference, where fractions influenced by Singh pushed for safeguards like proportional representation to prevent ethnic marginalization. So I hope that the pundit, the godly pundit, is aware of all these factors also, and does not focus on what MP Curry Master would have said. Look at everything in context. I have said what I said on that already, so no need for me to go back there. To me, it's about how you say things, and to me, people's perception is their reality, and anybody of African descent or who have eyes to see would come to that type of conclusion. However, for me, being in that space as an MP, I think even though you're in a space where you're in front of mic and your people there and your hype, whatever, you must always be conscious of the fact that you have a responsibility. So there's a way to say things. Always there's a way to say things. Yeah? And again, people's perception is the reality. At the end of the day, the People's National Movement spoke about inclusivity. It speaks about having talent. Once you have talent, you could ascribe and be a part of, right? Again, we all have our realities, and people see their realities based on their perception. I said my piece on that. So I want the pundit, when he is thinking about it, look on both sides of things, not just one side, right? I also want to, while we're saying that, I want you all to listen to this.
Conduct. Don't study them so constitute race every time an election come. Every time an election come, that is the time that they turn it over the card. Race, race, race. Away with race.
Divide and rule, man.
Away with divide and rule. Now is the opportune time. Black people, my brothers, my sisters, now is the time to get rid of the PNM once and for all. Move away from the slave mentality that the oppression, the sufferation that the PNM have you in today. Move away. Do not allow them to use race to keep you in the situation that you are in. If you are to examine all the prime ministers that passed through from 56 to now, I am telling you that it's a clear-cut case of Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Kamla Prasad Bisesa. This woman has done more for this country than anyone or any two of those prime ministers put together.
Correct.
That is a clear case.
Correct, right.
It's no if, no buts, or no maybe. You know that for yourself. In the constituency of Labre, let us watch and see. You examine. I ain't telling you nothing. You examine. You examine. Out of all of those prime ministers, which one of them has brought a very high standard of living within their period? Which one of them brought to you the number of infrastructures that you can see, and not only see, but you attend and your children attend in the constituency of Labre? You check it out. Check out in a PNM stronghold what they have done for you and what Ms. Prasad Bisesa has done in the constituency of Labre. Check it out.
Good comparison. Very good.
Check it out, Fred. Don't let them come now and tell all you about them Indian and them Indian and them Indian. Because all of them who talking Indian and Indian and Indian, they like everything the Indian cook more than what they cook for themselves. All of them who talking about Indian this and Indian that. Watch by the doubles man who does line up. Watch by the doubles man. So don't let them pappy show you with this race talk. Don't let them pappy show you with that. That will only keep all in the dungeons. And that is what they want, to keep you where you are. Let us examine something.
No, that is Mr. Victor Roberts, the gentleman who used to be dragging the coffin. And it's interesting to hear what he said about the PNM, because recently he would have made a video. I think I played it right here too, because I played some of his stuff that speak about Julian John and them knowing how in the UNC they just talk about African people, right? That's why I say we need to have an honest and frank conversation on race relations, because people has used it to their advantage. I doesn't like them kind of thing. So you say all this about the PNM, right? And recently all up in the PNM, you join the PNM and all that. So when the PNM stop being what you now describe there, trying to understand the whole thing. And you say Kamla Prasad Bisesa did more for people of African descent in PNM constituents and for the country than the PNM did. So why are you not still there? I'm trying to understand, because look here. And that's why I have to say, this is my opinion again. The political leader, the opposition leader of this country, clueless. That's my opinion now. Clueless as well as politically weak. Watch this.
National Helicopter, National Training Agency, and myself. All of these workers mentioned are also to receive 10%, which is the consolidation of dollar to the same 2 periods of collective bargaining.
Well, I think it's soft. The PNM Constitution, Article 9, equality of opportunity for all and a career open to talent. 10, the elimination of all forms of discrimination in public life. 11, the integration of the many racial and cultural strains which have contributed to the development of our cosmopolitan society. And Mr. Roberts, this wasn't written yesterday or today. That is the PNM Constitution from back when the PNM was formed, 1956. And it spoke about inclusion, about talent, opening up for all races, against discrimination, and being an integrated party. It was a national party. Can you show me where there's a UNC constitution that says the same? And again, if the UNC did so much for this country, and the PNM always talking about race and using race, I'm trying to understand, when did something shift? Because only recently you started to support the PNM. Nothing wrong in that. Anybody free to support the PNM, but you had strong views on the PNM, and now today you're all up in the PNM. But these are the kind of talent that the PNM attracts. No, just this.
UNC, Mr. President, with all due respect, they push themselves as the premier East Indian party of Trinidad and Tobago because that is where their base is. Mr. President, show me one bright young person. They were able, every time there's an independence, there's an absence of a senator, poor Uncle Tim. They had to call him back. They had to call him back to come and represent from retirement. They had to call him back from retirement. Mr. President, if today or tomorrow I am to leave this office for whatever the reason, trust me when I say to have 100 young, bright Indian people line up, waiting to come and defend the PNM. Senator Smith, I'm glad, boy. I'm glad that you're here. They give you a little blind. Senator Rambajan, I was actually very impressed with her. But you see, people have come to puzzle to we too about what happens in the UNC. And I heard the poor senator couldn't last one because she was brighter than 3/4 of all of them on the bench. So that is why they sacked she one time. I don't know. That's the puzzle I get in my ears. So, Mr. President, and that is to remind you, because as I said, we're in the political season, and I want the young people of Trinidad and Tobago, I want you to know that the PNM is a place and a space that every single one of us, once you have talent and a true dedication to serve this country, to Trinidad and Tobago, you have a place. And as we talk about Tobago, Mr. President, the other side tried, they can't step in the shoes or the shadow of the Honorable Senator Dennis. You understand? And in this parliament, in the People's National Movement, there is also a place and a space for them bright boys, good-looking boys, them from Tobago, Senator Hislop as well. That is equality. I sat here for the last 3 days and I felt so proud, prouder than ever to be a member of the People's National Movement. When I look down this road and I see the kind and quality of gentlemen that I could feel safe, I could feel respected, I know they're not going to cross no line. That is the kind of government I want to associate myself with.
There stand a proud Hindu Indian woman, proud of her Indianness, proud of her spirituality and religion, and quite comfortable being in the space of people of African descent, people of other races, and being a part of the People's National Movement. That's what the PNM is about, has always been about. Talent, and she said it there. That is the PNM, a national party. So don't attribute the things of the UNC to the PNM. And all them in the PNM talking about black party, all the rocks over that. Nowhere in the constitution of the PNM talk about no black party. If it was, it would have been laid out in the constitution, because the constitution where the PNM is guided by has lasted for 70 years and will continue to go on long after them who talking about black party. All inclusive. So again, I ask Mr. Victor Roberts, no disrespect, when you change your mind, but all them things about the PNM that today, you're all up in the PNM. But you know, it's ironic, the people who badmouth the PNM and say all kind of things, the opposition leader, like she just open shame and welcome them. Like everybody who bad talk and cuss the PNM, that has welcome them. And people who stand up fighting in the gap where there's no communication, no social media officer, nothing. It have people on social media all over the place fighting for this PNM. They just get people to cuss them. I hear in the General Council meeting, she go on there, I don't know how true it is, to talk about one social media dragging, she and whoever. Ma'am, you're in public life. You have to have a thick skin. That's just the way it is. It may not be the right thing, but that's it, you're in public life. You have to take life as a leader, you have to be able to take the good, the bad, not to complain and whine about it. But on April the 20th, this is what you all miss. in this country. You all miss having a stable government in this country when 100,000 refused to go. Who went and tell people to vote PNM because it's Dr. Rowley, and Dr. Rowley just put Stuart Young there. Yes, I will keep saying it because it happened. Tell them, sit it out. We was 33 and we come back, and we was 20-something, 12 and we come back. But they failed to tell only with a strong leader. We don't have a strong leader now. That is my opinion. I'll keep saying it. And I mean no disrespect. And all who have problem with it, all they sit down, all they little problem, why all them things going on, all they see what going on in Labor Day, Labor gone, and nobody's to defend workers. The only union I see, in my opinion, standing and fighting is Tutor. Hats off to Tutor. The little girl went down there to protest. Riot police come down. I don't know why or what, but I know in Labor Day, anybody welcome to come in Labor Day. Once you have a girl, they make a placard. It could be for whatever reason you have a placard, they come down in the Labor Day thing, because it's about people standing up for whatever rights. It only have to be labor rights alone. Because Butler and them didn't just only fight for labor rights. Here, Elmer Francois, and they were doing work to feed people, to educate people. Labor is not just about fighting for your rights in the workplace, but you all miss out on the opportunity April the 20th because of some of their bad mind and wickedness and evilness and jealousy. All they miss out on this.
There are people who are not like you. People who celebrate our challenges, take pleasure in our pain, and people who create chaos. People who block our progress and undermine our opportunity, all for political power. But there are people like you who love our country. People like you who work hard to move our country forward. People like you who want a better future for the next generation. There are people like you who want to see Trinidad and Tobago succeed. With people like you, we will continue to fight for our country. With people like you, we will continue to fight for what is right. With people like you, we will continue to build this nation. We will write a new chapter for Trinidad and Tobago together. On April 28th, vote for your future. Vote for people like you. Vote PNM.
All them miss out, but sometimes things must have to happen for things to happen. Everybody have a blessed night, have a blessed weekend. All Kerry, Melka, everybody, Sarah, everybody on Facebook. I'm sure there are more those on Petra, Felix, more Petal, Felix, Shirley, everybody, Jimmy. Thank you all for listening on Deja, James, Vilma, the Veens, the whole crew. All the feel I'm seeing all today. I put things in place where I could see all the, let me see what again, let me see. Labor Day come like a time, a line for the, no, listen. Labor Day, to be honest, Labor Day always had that part of it, that celebratory party, drinking, whatever. However, when them leaders and them go and stand on that platform and speak, the members who support them and the members who are part of the union knew that the union leader was speaking in the defense to stand up and take care of business for them. The difference that the party thing continue and the leaders and them may have time with nobody just fooling people. Must he buy 2 boxes of carib, okay, wherever the case, and cook a pot of food and everybody eat and drink, and they just sell. I'm talking about PSA now, selling out workers. I didn't say PSA buy no alcohol, whatever, right? But I remember I hear you buy one set of doubles and let me tell you something. I know PSA a good while, I don't know. I know PSA a good while, so I could talk. I could talk, right? I could talk about what I know with PSA and how they treat workers. How they treat not workers, how they treat the members of PSA, especially under, it will get worse under Leroy Baptiste, and it was under Felicia Thomas. Nothing, sell out and more sell out. She don't know how to negotiate for nothing. She don't have that skill, and she team don't have that skill. She hold them whole team, I understand, them on different board and all that. So they compromise, conflict of interest. If you want to be on a board, but don't be a part of the union in a managerial position. Don't be on the executive, be a normal member. or a shop steward, but you can't be the executive of a union and you're in bed with the employer. How then you could go and stand up to the employer now to fight for your members who does pay you? It can't work because you always soften it up. I hear you on the platform still talking about paying them and paying. Oh God, all that done. You was talking about my man, everything is me paying them. Stop that shit now, girl. Today's Friday, so I could say a little thing. You was on the table and I'm a man, stop. Well, I tell you, I'm paying them. Stop that shit now, girl. You go talk about paying them all the time, talk about what the UNC doing for the country, talk about what UNPS as the president doing for the country that people want to hear. Or let's still talk about paying them. Look now, people have a blessed night. Love you all. See you all on Tuesday. God's better come with something fresh, something new. This day, girl Ginger, Sister Jenny, Auntie Jenny. And if you want to get formal, it's Miss Jennifer Frederick, another edition of the thing. People, I'm willing to sit down with any team, any crew to start this honest and frank conversation on race relations. We always have issues among the races because human beings at the end of the day, your own family, you don't get along with them sometimes. Sometimes you see them, it's just, oh God. A little party, they come and say, where she come here for? Back and I'll come to her. And like family. Like blood family. Imagine people who are not family and all that. It will have issues because human beings always have a little conflict. However, the UNC, it appears every time they're in office, they just widen the gap between the Africans and the Indians in this country. And there are some people who just buy it wholesale and go down that road. But at the end of the day, what is it doing for our country? For your children? 10,500 seatbelt workers home. They're not working. As mothers with children to send to school, all they know how them children eating, all they know what's going on in the house, how rent paying, how bills paying, URP workers, contracted workers, reforestation workers, all they know how these people eating and drinking while all they liking all they self and slimming down like you're taking some slim down drug or some kind of thing to reach that size and you're looking thin and hair and all them makeup and this and that and all that good. We're studying how these people living, all they studying, all they fooling. Them PSA members was down there, I don't blame them, you know. They want to be leaving the union. They want to really believe something happening, but in their heart, they know they're getting shortchanged. In their heart, they know just how the 5% we get sellout. They know we get next sellout and Bout. Again, all they know that. But nothing wrong, all they come out there, I can't blame all they for that. But understand the context in why talking, right? So it's up to all at the end of the day. But retirees waiting on the money, public officers waiting on the money, and the teachers want their money because the teachers are saying from the conversation, I listen here and wherever, that the money was put aside to pay them already, and like that is the money that was used to pay public officers. That's $20,000 in December. That way, I have a story to tell what Chuck Gordon has said. I can't sing like it, but apparently that the word on the ground. So where we go from here? People, at the end of the day, people, let us be real and let us treat our situation in a real and honest way. And things not going right, it's not looking right, it is smelling right. We write, you see right, I say right. It ain't looking right and smelling right, and like the word take away, we write too. Slowly and surely. So people, I love you all. All of we have to work together to build this country because we did it in the past. We have to do it again despite those who may be anti that. But we have to do it again because our children and children, all our children, all different races, all our children depend on us to leave a better space for them. The young ones and them have the energy, the vibes. They just want to hand that energy to be harnessed the right way. They're not backing down like we. We in the 60s and things, we balling not we now. Them young ones and them may not have all the information and they're out there because they have a passion, they have a vibe and an energy and them ain't taking no for answer. So let me teach them, let me harness that energy and stuff because them is the one to take over after, right? Peace and love everybody, equal right and justice. Love you all, see you all on Tuesday, God's Spirit. Have a safe and blessed weekend. Love my peeps, love all. Facebook, YouTube, love you all. Director, thank you as usual, always so much. I'll go on.
Pleasure. And I come here to Trinidad. I met employers living in luxury and employees suffering. Man, working for 7 cents in England living like kings. They harden their heart and prepare for war. Just because you ask for a penny more. It's a deeply debating issue, of course. White people running a black police force. And in case anybody might want to know, me to buy a raya, but not say so. Now look around, open your eyes and see. You're living like Bobo in a net. While people come from a foreign country and in your place enjoying the best. They're boasting about the wealth of your country while you're knocking around, hungry and dirty. The British government playing wicked. In Abraham, I go make him run sleep. The problem that you facing presently really ain't no differently from slavery. Presently in the British Empire, we are the greatest oil producer. Look at Miss Melvina, she closed her up. Man, look how much money to hold the shop. Will you go on and on, suffering, while the tourists and master take everything? But I intend to make them a papi show. Me to buy you a yard, but not so. You're getting up early in the morning. You're giving them your heart and your soul. And while you're taking this savage licking, they're making millions from your black hole. While there's the last driving car and living high, you have to ride bicycle until you die. Now is the time to show the love. Man, get up and get what you all deserve. Look, some of them coming quite from England and getting free bungalow and land. You're walking under deadly condition and then getting no compensation. If they really want economic freedom, always remember we have this strike weapon. Get up, do something for more rice and flour. Keep back your labor, it's in your favor. We want to come up with a yard below. Need to buy you a yard, but not say so.